How do we appreciate when someone notices that we're going through a challenge and then give us a word of encouragement? It uplifts us. It strengthens us. How wonderful it is to have brothers and sisters that genuinely care for us and support us when we need it. Now, our situation is very much like those Christians in the congregation in Smyrna. They face many challenges, similar to what we face. Persecution, ridicule. Why? Because of their faith in Jesus and living by that faith. They too needed reassurance. And Jesus gave them just that. Let's see what we can learn from that. So let's open our Bibles to Revelation chapter 2 now. And let's continue a little bit there in verse 8. He says, "And to the angel of the congregation in Smyrna write, these are the things that he says." Who's that? It's the first and last, who became dead and came to life again. Immediately Jesus reminded them of who he is. What happened to him? I was dead. Why? Because I was persecuted, but I came alive. And then in verse 9 he says, "I know your tribulation and your poverty, but you are rich. And the blasphemy by those who call themselves Jews and are really not, but they are a synagogue of Satan." What encouraging words did Jesus give them? I know what you're doing. I'm fully aware of your tribulation. I'm taking note of these things. And then he explains some of those things. He says, people blaspheme. They blaspheme. They are Jews, but they're not really Jews. Imagine that. Jews, they were supposed to accept the Messiah. They didn't. They rejected Jesus. They killed him. And now they've gone beyond that and blasphemed even his anointed brothers, those very same Christians in the congregation. And Jesus says, I know that. And maybe some of you are in poverty now because of that. Maybe they lost their jobs because they were serving Jesus. It also says that there's a synagogue of Satan. Synagogue of Satan. Now, Smyrna, it was the center of emperor worship. What was required to just take a pinch of the incense and drop it on the altar and say, Caesar is Lord. Could the Christians do that? No, never. As a result, they were persecuted, maybe dismissed from their job, and now as a result, maybe they were materially poor. But what did Jesus say? You are rich. You are rich. Yes, they were rich spiritually. How happy those words must have made them. I know your poverty. I've been through the same thing. I know what they are doing to you. You might look impoverished, but you are rich. But with the commendation, Jesus also gives a little warning. What did he tell them? Let's read verse 10. Do not be afraid of the things you are about to suffer. It's not over yet. It's not over yet. You are going to continue to suffer. How? He says, look, the devil will keep on throwing some of you in prison so that you may be fully put to the test. You will have tribulation for 10 days. Prove yourself faithful even to death, and I will give you the crown of life. Their troubles were far from over. The worst is still to come. They were having a hard time, yes, but Jesus said, look, they're going to throw some of you in prison. And they're going to continue to persecute you, maybe even for some, to the death. But what did Jesus say? Remain faithful. Prove yourself faithful. Yes, Jesus reminded them that each one of them will be tested. Somehow they're just not going to make it without being tested. No, their faith would be tested to the limit. Fully. And emphasize that because he said it twice. You'll be tested fully. Prove yourself faithful. Because the tribulation will last 10 days. Now, in our study of the Bible, we know 10 days doesn't mean 10 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. But it refers 10 complete, a complete number. Their tribulation would be complete. They would be fully tested. And that would mean, for some, actual death. But notice the encouragement that Jesus gives them at the end of verse 10. I will give you the crown of life. Notice the B part of verse 11. The one who conquers will by no means be harmed by the second death. Wow. Jesus said to them, no matter what happens, this is the outcome. I will give you the crown of life. And for those anointed Christians, what did that mean? It means that the second death had no hold on them. They would receive immortality. What a reward for faithfulness and loyalty to Jehovah. Yes, He will give them the crown of life. That promise was a guarantee. Yes, they had no reason to be fearful. And that's why Jesus introduced that by saying in verse 10, do not be afraid. There's no need to be afraid. The outcome is guaranteed. And that would help them. What can we learn from them? How can that affect us? Many of our brothers and sisters are going through tremendous challenges, trials, tribulations, even on a daily basis. What can help us? To use that to prepare us for what is to come. And things are going to come. And it's not going to get any better. It will certainly become worse. So what can help us? Well, if we want to prepare for anything, we need to decide two things. What not to do and what to do. So when we want to prepare for tribulation and trials that's still ahead of us, the persecution that we can possibly face in the future, what should we not do? Well, one thing we don't want to do is to agonize over every possible scenario of persecution. You know that? What if? But what if? And then we start checking. Because what if? And then what if? What can help us? Turn to Proverbs in chapter 29 and verse 5. Why should we avoid that? Verse 25 says, trembling at men is a snare. In other words, fear of men, if you look at the footnote, fear. Fear of man is a snare. What is a snare? Well, we know what a snare is. It's there to trap. And in most cases, the purpose of a snare is not to kill, but to trap, to grab hold, to immobilize the prey. And that's what fear will do for us. It will trap us. It will immobilize us, just as it does with literal prey. And sometimes, when we think of the what ifs, it can mobilize us so much that the threat, the what if, can become worse than the trial. and it might even cause us to fail. It might even defeat us before the actual trial occurs, or imagined trial. So that's one thing we want to avoid. The what ifs. But what should we do to prepare? Well, the rest of the verse in verse 25 there says, but the one trusting in Jehovah will be protected. The one trusting in Jehovah. So one thing we want to do is build our faith and confidence in Jehovah as the one who will protect us. So on your spiritual to-do list, what would you write? Well, there are many things, but let's just discuss 4 things that can help us on our to-do list to prepare for future tribulation. In harmony with Jesus' encouragement to the congregation of Israel. So the first one we have seen, to build our faith and confidence in Jehovah. If you just turn a little bit back to Psalms 118, verse 6. This is what it says. Jehovah is on my side, I will not be afraid. That's what Jesus says. Do not be afraid about the things that are to come. How can we dispel that fear? Because Jehovah is on our side. Verse 13 it says, I was pushed hard to make me fall, but Jehovah helped me. It is true. Persecution, we get pushed hard. Why? To fall. But Jehovah is there. Build our confidence in Jehovah and the fact that He will protect us. Many years ago, Watchtower made a comment. It says the person who knows God's best will trust Him the most. So get to know Jehovah as a person. That will help us to build faith and confidence. Something else that will help us is be regular in preaching the good news of God's kingdom. And you might say, yes, I am. But let's talk a little bit how that can build us confidence and faith. Give us courage. Think of all the avenues of field clubs, ministry. What are some aspects of the ministry that you find a challenge? Starting in a conversation in house to house. Informal witnessing. Do you like God witnessing, or do you don't really like it so much? Because there you stand in the public. I feel a little bit anxious. So when we want to use the field ministry to build confidence out of our comfort zone, focus on those areas that you find a challenge and use it to build your courage and strength. And then think, meditate. The third point, meditate on examples in the scriptures. What would be on the top of the list on the one who faced persecution? Jesus himself. Look at his example of faithful endurance. But there are many others. Hebrews chapter 11 makes a whole list of them. Noah, Hannah, Samuel. There are so many that we can use practical lessons for daily life. How did they manage to raise a family? How did they manage to reject worldly influence, immorality, and all those things? Prejudice. And then fourthly, think of modern day examples. And maybe you can remember the governing body update 2024 number 4, and also the video No Reason to Fear Persecution. What did the brothers say? Sisters made this comment, Romans 12:21, conquer the evil with the good. Gives unique opportunities to give a witness. Remember those 4 sisters faced the same judge in Russia that ridiculed them, belittled them, humiliated them. And the sister said, this is an opportunity to give a witness. One sister prayed that the judge would say, pronounce Jehovah's name correctly for 10 times. What happened? The judge correctly pronounced Jehovah's name 14 times. In fact, because of the trial, they had more opportunities to give a witness than they had before the trial. You see, they were courageous. Was it easy? No. One brother said, strengthen your faith, Jehovah will support you. Another sister said, see the reasons for joy. Remember, Jehovah is the owner of joy. What a beautiful thought. And when we meditate on these things, it can encourage us also to build faith, confidence, and have the strength to endure. But we said many in our circuit face those tribulations. Let's invite Sister Tabete and let's interview her on her experiences and how she is a modern example for us. Welcome, Sister Tabete. So you started pioneering soon after you were baptized, but it wasn't so easy. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, soon after getting baptized, I faced extreme opposition from my family and they were very upset because I wouldn't participate in the so they were very upset because I wouldn't participate in family rituals. I also experienced physical beatings and opposition from my husband's family. At one point, even my own mother took my husband's side of the family and said that I must stop being a witness, even though now they don't try to stop me from my activities. The family doesn't try to stop me anymore.
Thank you so much. Definitely not easy, but you remain faithful. Tell us a little bit, how did you see Jehovah's hand in matters to strengthen you and give you courage?
On one occasion, when things were really get bad, and my own mother took my husband's family and said that I must stop being a witness. So, but something happened. The most amazing thing happened. My husband came to me quietly and said, don't worry, you can carry on preaching and going to the meetings. I can only say thank you, Jehovah, from getting me out of that situation. Even though the family is not, none of my family is not in the truth, except for my daughter. So they don't try to stop me anymore.
Wow. The very one that was giving you trouble now came to defend you. To see how Jehovah opens the way. How did your spiritual routine help you? Because it was definitely not easy, you being the only one. How did your spiritual routine strengthen you?
Attending meetings have helped me to face my tribulation and to remain stable no matter what happens back at home. So it's where I get to worship Jehovah and see my friends who have been helping me throughout the years.
Yes, very nice. Let's concentrate a little bit on that last comment. How did the brothers and sisters support you?
In many ways. So the brothers and sisters have been helping me when I started to study the Bible, since even before I got baptized. The brothers and sisters will take me from Harvard to Mary's Bay to see my husband who was very sick in hospital. So I want to thank Jehovah in that situation.
Sister Tabitha, very, very wonderful to hear your experience and your faithfulness. And here you are today smiling. The joy of Jehovah is certainly with you. Thank you very much. There are so many that we could really have interviewed today. As we go around in the circuit, every week we hear of brothers and sisters who are facing tremendous challenges to their face, personally and otherwise. You are a living example of those commendations Jesus made to the congregation this morning. Your faithfulness, your loyalty, your endurance is certainly an example for others to follow. And you are to be commended for that. In fact, we can just say what Jesus said, you are rich, you are not poor. And brothers and sisters, let us remember that the conflict between Jehovah's people and Satan, the outcome has been determined. What will it be? Let's look there in 1 John. 1 John chapter 2 and verse 17. The world is passing away, and so is its desire. But the one who does the will of God remains forever. The outcome is guaranteed. We know what's going to. So let's review. What have we learned? How can we prepare to endure persecution? With courage. We read 2 verses. Proverbs 29:25, Revelation chapter 2, 10 and 11. We do not focus on the what ifs. No. Instead, we use Jehovah's provision to build our faith and confidence in Him today. So the message that Jesus sent to the congregation this morning, what is He telling us? Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid of the things that we are going to suffer. Do not be afraid. Rather, prove yourself faithful. Why? Because we can have absolute confidence that Jehovah will reward